Welcome to today's Point to Point. I'm Daniel Todges. I'm the president and founder of Pinpoint Worldwide. Today, during this Point to Point, we're going to be discussing things like data center auditing and data integrity, and why it's such a problem for a lot of these companies to achieve. One wouldn't think that just simple data collection would be such a major problem, but it certainly is for a lot of these companies. They don't know where the assets are. They don't know what they've got. They don't know if it's been depreciated or not depreciated. And so you get into issues where you've got fault and you've got compliance and security, and without a really robust way to gather data to know that the systems are actually there, these top-end systems are having some real problems. So thankfully, they've got products that we're going to discuss today to help you solve those problems. Today, I'm joined with Steve Beber. Steve is the president and founder of Trackit Solutions. Trackit is one of the leaders in this industry. They've audited more than 1 million assets worldwide. And Steve's been in this business for about 8 years. Previously, he was the vice president of professional services for Emerson Network Power. So Steve's got vast experience in data center management and IT asset management. Steve, welcome, and I look forward to discussing this topic with you. So let's just get going with some of the questions that I've got. Why is data collection of interest to our viewers at all? Why is this something they should be listening to and watching?
Okay, yeah, good question, Dan. So, obviously, it's understanding what assets you own. So, as a business, it's important that if you're spending money on buying assets, it's understanding what they are and where they're located, keeping track of those assets. And then also from a data center point of view, from an asset management point of view, is understanding your capacity. So what kind of capacity you have to be able to grow and expand within an environment. Now, if you don't know what you've got and where it's located, you can't do any of that accurately. So it's all about understanding where those assets are located and that they're being utilized as well.
Now, when we talk about assets, Steve, are you talking about specifically about rack-based assets, or is it across all IT, or is it just basically in the data center we're talking about?
It's across all IT. So, our core focus is data center, but the type of assets that we actually audit go from physically a complete floor plan, so a complete space and gridding out a space, to mechanical and electrical equipment that's on the floor, fire suppression, cameras, PDUs, panels, breakers, that kind of equipment, and then down to racks and actually rack-mounted devices and device-mounted devices, so blades and cards within devices as well. So the whole kind of end-to-end of assets, and anything that takes up physical space is audited during our audits.
So cable connection and point-to-point, Trackit does that as well?
Yeah, as a secondary phase, we typically suggest that we do a phased approach. So the first approach would always be to audit the physical devices and to get the full inventory of what's on the floor. And then a phase 2 can be to pick up power or network connections, depending on what's important to the customer. Power is typically a lot simpler to collect and audit than network. Mm-hmm. Network, especially in legacy data centers, can be a bit more challenging because of cable management and not being able to trace, because all of our audits are non-intrusive, so we don't touch anything. We use our eyes to trace. If we can't trace it by our eyes, then we can't audit it. So it's a physical trace that has to happen.
Got it. Is this only for big data centers or small data centers or regionally distributed? Or?
No, any size. Mm-hmm. We've been doing this now since 2008, as we said. And we've done a range of sizes, going from small comms rooms that are 2 racks in a comms room to the biggest, over 250,000 devices for one of the leading world's banks around the globe within their estate. So any size, it's as important to the small as it is the large to understand what assets are owned.
Are you seeing any trends in the marketplace with specific verticals or industries like telecom or financial services? Does it seem like a bigger push that way, or what's the trend like for what you do?
Yeah, so I suppose over the last kind of 7 years, the early stage, we saw a lot of banks and a lot of the financial services businesses that were looking for audit to understand what they've got and where it's located. I think a lot of that was driven through how those businesses have grown very quickly, and equipment was put into data centers very quickly, not necessarily in a structured and recorded manner, because of the speed in which things needed to be deployed to keep up with services for end users. We're now seeing the same trend over the past year and a half. We've seen the same trend coming into place, certainly on the telecom side. And a lot of this seems to be due to the fact that the telecoms industry is seeing a huge boom, certainly with internet services, broadband services that are supplied, and telecoms providers changing what they provide now instead of just traditional telephone services. And obviously with the introduction of HD streaming TV services as well, and supply and demand on that side, a lot of these kind of comms rooms and switching centres, exchanges, are now transforming into data centres. So, and a lot of those, certainly around EMEA, we see a lot of those are driven through acquisition, of buying up a lot of the smaller telecoms companies. Likewise, so in the US, a lot of consolidation of some of the big players, which leads to wanting to know what they've got and where it's located, and have an accurate record so they can plan for consolidation and growth as well for the future.
Well, and why is this so difficult? It sounds like a difficult problem for a lot of different industries, a lot of different types of companies. Why is it hard to capture data like that?
It's more around getting the right tool for the right job, the right people, and the right process around that. I believe that the reason why we're so good at what we do is because we've been doing it for 8 years. We've matured over those 8 years, and we've refined a very good process. We've got great teams of people who are very well versed with doing the audits all around the globe. And we've got a great product that's been built and developed internally, first off as an internal to use product to help facilitate accurate audits and collecting data efficiency, and then onwards of our customers adopting that solution to maintain and manage their data centers ongoing, and the kind of full life cycle asset management leading on from that.
So the data that you collect, I'm assuming you're collecting, the device data for all the devices, all the IT devices. What systems does that feed back up into, and can you interface with upstream and downstream systems that would utilize your data?
Sure. So we have the ability to import data from certain DCIM and CMDB solutions on the market. We can map existing data sources into our product, show them as rack elevations within our product, take that onto the floor. We have the ability to update, modify that data, add new devices that are missing, and then push that out into the same format for the other product to have that imported into. Or we have our own enterprise solution where we can import that data into, and that can then be used day to day for managing good quality asset management and accurate asset management ongoing.
So if I've got an existing workflow system or CMDB like you mentioned, so for example, I'm a ServiceNow client, or I'm a Remedy client, or HP Service Desk, or one of those asset management service desk systems, how do I leverage Trackit, and what value do you provide me?
Okay, so with many of those kind of products, some of the failings in those products are the fact that they don't have the visual element and they don't have the mobility to take the data down onto the floor. And like some of our earlier solutions before we became tablet driven, everything was about reading lines of data and not actually looking at elevations. A good example of that, this is what our data collection devices used to look like. These are a little PDA, similar to what delivery drivers use to get you to sign on. These used to have just data in them, and it was just data, lines of data, no visual element, because the screens didn't have the capacity to see rack elevations. And then this is the newer technology. If you can see on here, there's rack elevations on the actual tablet device, so the ability to be able to actually view the rack against the rack that you're looking at.
That's cool.
So some of the big advantages there is that you look at a rack and you stand side by side with that data, you can see instantly if there's a difference in what you're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes highlighting problems so much simpler. And again, if we're bringing that data in from another source, you can see where the problems are. You can then make the changes, updates, and then you can push that back out to the original data source to keep that data clean. So it becomes a nice process for maintaining, again, good quality asset management.
I mean, if I'm a data center and I've got its devices in the wrong U, or cables connected to the wrong port, or devices that are there that weren't accounted for, what kind of problems does that create?
Well, I mean, from a capacity planning point of view and from a management, a day-to-day operations point of view within data center, it can cause huge problems. The worst case scenario is if you have an outage in a data center, you don't know what devices have gone down, you don't know where they're located, you don't know what applications are running on what servers. How do you go about finding those servers and the equipment that you need to find very quickly? And in the world we live in today, where IT is at the centre of business, in a lot of businesses, if a device goes down, it can be costing a lot of money. If there's back office applications that go down, trading environments that go down, it could be any kind of application. But the problems are all the same. Is that you want to try and find that device, and you want to try and work out what the issue is, whether it's a connectivity issue that a port has failed or a cable's failed, and you need to trace out the cable. How do you do that if you're using out-of-date Excel spreadsheets or data that just doesn't exist? It's like looking for a needle in a haystack.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So are you hearing anything from your clients around compliance, push around compliance? I would think compliance would be a big issue, specifically for the financial services businesses, but any business that depreciates their assets.
Yeah, I think more and more there's a push on compliance and people to take more ownership of what they actually have and the full life cycle of the equipment that they have. A lot of it's to do with things like Sarbanes-Oxley and the Dodd-Frank's Act as well, regarding data and data security, and the way that data is managed and maintained. How can you be sure that you're managing your data security properly if you don't actually know where your assets are located? It's some really easy questions that would need to be answered. And a lot of people, again, would be using some kind of spreadsheets or data that they can't be sure is accurate and the last time it was actually updated or maintained, or if there's different versions of that data out there. So, again, we do see a lot around compliance, and I see a lot of legislation coming in the future, putting more ownership on data center owners and operators and businesses in general to have accurate records of what assets they own.
Are you seeing anything around security? I would think security would be another big one too. Just not knowing where physically assets were located, or thinking that they've been decommissioned, or they're still working. Are you seeing anything around that?
Yeah, it's still an age-old problem where hard drives these days can contain any quantity of data and confidential data.
Yeah.
If a device is decommissioned out of a data center, if you don't have accurate tracking on where that device went and how it was disposed of, and all of a sudden that data crops up somewhere, this is where you hear bad stories in the press of data that's been found on a dump somewhere, and it turns out to be banking records or records of account details of people. The whole idea of what we do is to track the assets throughout their life cycle, and then when they're end of life, you can also have a document attached to where that's been end of life, how that's been disposed of or recycled, to prove out the whole end-to-end process from when it actually came into the business and first arrived on a loading bay, right the way till the end of life when it's been either recycled or taken back into a build room to be redeployed.
These $1 million systems, these data center infrastructure management systems that these companies have put in place, I mean, that was kind of their edict, wasn't it? That they were going to go solve this problem, the visualization and rack elevations. How does Trackit work with some of the existing players like Emerson, Aperture, guys like Enlight and Schneider? How do you work within that ecosystem?
So we have the ability to import and export data, as we've said, similar to the CMDBs and the other kind of ServiceNow kind of solutions that are in the market. So we can push and pull data from them. We've built an integration layer, and it's a product set we call Syncit, which acts as a layer in between products like these, where we can easily get data out of their products and bring them into ours. It can be used then as a method of switching products as well. So if a company wanted to go from an existing DCIM solution into something different, we can grab that data out of the product and we can migrate that data quite quickly. So it can alleviate a lot of the professional services time needed by a lot of other businesses. But the ability to get data in and out, that's key. And the other main importance is to ensure that data is actually accurate. Because in a lot of cases, a lot of the failings from a lot of the DCIM solutions in the market are they don't have the ability to get good data in and out quickly and easily, and that means that they go stale very quickly. People don't use them to get the data in and out quickly, and then the data goes out of date. Obviously, if you put bad data in, you get bad data out. Your reports, your dashboards, anything that you do within those solutions won't be validated, it won't be accurate. So if you're making really big decisions off the back of that regarding consolidation or rationalization within environments, you could be making some really bad decisions off the back of inaccurate data.
So most of the way I understand it, Steve, is most of these systems they'll use a pre-populated database to fill themselves up. DCIM product will. Then they might do a discovery, right, where they discover the network, make sure the devices are out there on the network. And then they might even do a one-time audit, to get things installed. But so what I'm hearing you're saying is, even if you get the data into it accurately, which a lot of times they don't, they just, from an ongoing perspective, it becomes really problematic to keep these things updated. So how does Trackit fit in that niche? How does Trackit make sure that these other systems are updated, and why can't they do it?
I think quite simply is a lot of the other solutions on the market are focused on the high-end features and functionality of DCIM, looking at complex reporting and graphical dashboarding, and the ability to be able to capacity plan and manage. But quite simply, they haven't focused on the core of what the solution is, and that's the asset management. My kind of analogy on this is, if you were looking to build a house, you wouldn't build the house from the roof down. You start from the foundations, and with any kind of DSIM or CMDB or central management solution like this, you have to start with the asset management. You have to start with good quality data. And a method and a mechanism to be able to maintain good quality data. Once you have that, then you can layer on your levels of intelligence from intelligent infrastructure products, power products, and networking tools. Additional information from tools that will give you processing power of devices and further analyze how much you're actually utilizing the equipment. But you can't do that unless you have asset management. Asset management is at the center of that.
Got it. And so from a Trackit perspective, give me an idea, just the envelope of the solution, kind of what you guys do from end to end, so I get a better idea of how you differentiate. It sounds like there's a big separation between what DCIM does and what you do on the data collection side. So I want to make sure I understand that fully.
Yeah. I mean, we certainly say we're in a niche space because we see a lot of the other vendors that sell part of a solution, or they sell the software aspects of the solution, whereas what we do is we like to take people on a journey, and that journey commences with taking people in for what we call a data collection workshop and a data workshop. And what this is all about is looking at what the customer's doing today with regards to asset management in the data centers, any standards that have been put in place, and reviewing what those standards are, and then looking at the process that they've adopted to maintain and update that data. We carry out that. It's typically a one-day workshop to review those. We show some best practices of what we see in the market of other data centers, and then we look to come to a decision on what's important to them, what data they're looking to achieve, how they can maintain that, and then the standards that can be adopted to help maintain that in an accurate manner, so that everyone's adopting and utilising it in the same way. Once that's documented and that's turned back to the customer and it's signed off, we then look to either help out by giving an audit and conducting a full audit of the facilities they're looking to bring in. If they don't want an audit and they'd like to use existing data, we can look and determine the quality of that existing data set, depending on what percentage of accuracy that comes out as would depend on whether that's worthwhile utilising or whether a full audit would be required. And then we help with regards to just getting up to speed and getting the data in. Again, a kind of phased approach. We like to try and get customers utilising a process and a way to maintain good quality asset information first. And once they've been doing that for a set period of time, we then look at what other layers of data can be added onto that, whether that's coming from intelligence sources that can be polled internally, if there's sniffers or devices on network that can collect certain information and push back for any network connected devices. Or we also look at things like power audits and network connection audits that will give even more granular information, so you can start doing more complex reporting around outage analysis, capacity management, understanding how much spare power capacity, cooling capacity, space capacity there are within environments. And then they're helping to build some reports and dashboards that will really help get the main benefits out of that good quality data. But it's very much a phased approach, and what we like to say is we kind of take customers on a journey. The starting point is to really start at the very beginning and set some standards and help understand what it takes to get good quality data and maintain good quality data, and then take that through a full life cycle so that it's easily maintained and people will update it and maintain it, and they'll get value out of it very, very quickly.
Can you give me just a use case of maybe, you don't have to say the client's name if you don't want to, but just kind of a use case on kind of where a client was before Trackit and after Trackit, and kind of how that journey, what it resulted in for that client. I'm interested in kind of the tools that you use, and you say that you can gain maximum amounts of productivity for audits by using Trackit. I'm kind of looking for how specifically do you do that other than come up with a real actionable plan.
So over the last 8 years, we've done some big global projects for some of the world's leading banks and retailers and telecoms businesses. I think some of the more recent ones that come to mind are ones where the customer has tried for weeks on end, and if not months. We had a customer recently, 6 months they were trying to get data to deploy on a site that was around 500 racks on the site. There was a few thousand devices on that particular site. I think it was around 11,000 devices. The issue they had was their BAU teams, their in-house teams, trying to collect that data as well as doing their day jobs. It wasn't happening. After 6 months, the volume of data that they could deliver was only partial. There was no real standards, so the level of accuracy and the quality of that data was pretty poor. We went in to do an audit. Within a 2-week period, we collected just over 11,500 devices.
Wow.
And turned that around, and they could see it instantly. So
wow.
A rule of thumb really for us is a team of 5 that we deploy, which is an audit administrator and 4 auditors, will collect in excess of 1,000 devices per day.
Wow.
So the speed and accuracy in which we hit, every device that's audited is QA'd by the audit administrator, so it's touched twice. Every time a device is audited, it's time-stamped, it's user-stamped by who collected it, when they collected it, and we have a full tracking history on that, and then the full tracking history around the QA process of the audit administrator, who's also QA'd that sometime after it's been collected. But all of our data goes up live into a cloud environment that we hold for customers, and it's visible the end of every working day of the audit. So there's no waiting around to see progress. There's no time lapse in which data is going to be presented. It's instantly available, instantly viewable, and that data then can be exported out of our solution straight away, or it can be managed and maintained in our solution instantly on the cloud. So very, very quick, and it really does prove real value for money straight away.
And you can do this while they're in operation. They're still doing move adds and changes. You can still be
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So typically, what we would do is just put a manual change process in place so that the customer is recording their change while we're conducting an audit. Because obviously, whilst we've got a team of people on site, there's still change going on. We want to make sure that that change doesn't affect the problems that we have within the environment. So we like to make sure that data's contained and not causing a problem.
Got it. So logistically, anywhere in the world, can you do an audit anywhere? I mean, what is the geography scope?
Yeah, there's no limit. I mean, we've completed audits in Australia, South Africa, Brazil, Hong Kong, China, Singapore, India, all over the US, and South America. We recently just completed an audit in Honolulu, in Hawaii, and we've got multiple projects going on at the moment, UK, Ireland, and out in the US. We literally deploy teams wherever there is the requirement. And again, some of those can range from very small sites to very large. And, even the small satellite offices that companies have with the odd rack in that need the data managing, it's critical. It's understanding what's there so that if they're lights out facilities, they've got complete visibility of what equipment they have.
Got it. And then what about pricing? How do you price the product and solution? How's it priced?
So the audit service is priced on a per device cost. So typically what we would do is go out to a customer site. We conduct what we call a pre-audit survey, which is walking around their facility, taking note of quantity of devices, of racks, rack-mounted devices, device-mounted devices, and that will help us build up a picture of how many devices there are on that site as an approximate, and then how many people we need on that site and how long that will take to complete. Once we've done that, we can deliver that back with a full project plan to the customer with timing plan and resource structure and cost associated. With regards to the solution, there's several different kind of flavors that we offer, depending on what's being used, and if it's a DCIM solution and you're looking to have our Trackit mobile solution used in conjunction with that, so our product becomes a mechanism to be able to update and manage the data. Then we sell bundled kits. A bundled kit looks like this, as a tablet with our software on. We have little 1D, 2D barcode printers. These are little lightweight Bluetooth printers for printing out asset tags and intelligently embedding data into tags for very quick validation. And then we have the barcode scanner, which is just a 1D, 2D barcode scanner. That set comes with a docking station, gives you the ability to put the dock onto the network, and you can then push and pull data from the DCIM tool into the product, take it out on the floor, again update and make your change, and then push it back into the DCIM tool.
Oh, awesome.
With a staging area in between that. That solution is sold as a kit and sold in bundles depending on size and scale. Again, we've got some of the biggest banks around the world utilising that for their asset management in conjunction with their DCIM tools. And then we have our enterprise solution, which, depending on the customer, if security allows them to put the application into the cloud, we have a cloud service for that, which is a kind of pay-as-you-grow solution. So you can scale as you grow, again, per rack, and the more racks you put in, the cheaper the pricing gets per rack. And that's fully hosted, fully managed service by us. And you can access that via the web with all the different levels of authentication for user authentication and restrictions, etc. Or you can have it hosted internally as an enterprise solution. So there's a few different flavors. one doesn't fit all. We've got a completely different approach from banks to telecoms, from small telecoms to large telecoms, dealing, trading rooms that we have using different technologies, different sets of equipment. And you know, some are very bespoke with regards to audit service and dumping the data out into a format that they can push into other solutions. So it really is just about what fits the customer.
Fantastic. So how would someone find more information about Trackit? Where's the best place to get info, you know, on Trackit, Steve?
So the best thing is to get in touch either via our website or just that info at trackit-solutions.com. There's many ways that we can be seen. Just to drop an email across or to register your interest through our website, and we'd be happy to help.
Oh, great. Anything else you want to add today? I think that wraps up our Q&A. Anything else you'd like to add, Steve?
Just the importance of data center asset management and, you know, good quality data. Again, it's at the heart of the problems today. Is the problems that people have with spreadsheets and utilizing spreadsheets and version control. This is a solution that's been grown and developed over the last 8 years, so it's very mature. It's very tried and tested, and we've got some very good case studies, some really good customer stories that we can share. And again, the importance of good quality data is key to most businesses these days.
Steve, that wraps. Thank you very much for joining me today for Point to Point. I appreciate all the time and giving my audience an opportunity to learn more about Trackit and how you solve inventory and audit problems for some of these companies out there. It sounds like some real problems. So I appreciate the time today, and with that, I'll go ahead and sign off. Thanks so much.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.